First question that I have is, and I don't want to ask about the Affordable Care Act, but I am curious about the news on how state attorneys general defend their states on that kind of federal law. What is your role?
Okay, that's a very good question, because I was talking to a couple of people beforehand. There's this huge debate going on, and I'm in a debate with Eric Holder about state attorneys general obligation to defend their state laws. And I think, absent on-point precedent, we have an obligation to defend our state laws. As you know, some are refusing to defend state constitutional provisions which they have decided are unconstitutional when no court has yet decided that. In the case of the federal law, I am a state elected official who has an obligation to enforce to uphold the Colorado Constitution and the federal Constitution. And I personally believe, and I think most of my fellows believe, that a big part of our job is to preserve federalism. Now, maybe you haven't heard that term since civics class in high school, and a sad number of Americans had no clue what federalism is. Let me just tell you real quickly. It is that principle enshrined in the U.S. Constitution that says, look, Article 1, Section 8, Congress has the power to, and there's a list of like 20-some powers that Congress is given by the Constitution. And elsewhere in the Constitution it says all powers not specifically given to Congress are reserved to the states and the people. That's federalism. And it's a huge part of our job, in my opinion, to seek to preserve federalism. So in the Affordable Health Care Act, Brian, when Congress said the mandate to purchase insurance was based on the Commerce Clause, the provision, Article 1, Section 8, says Congress has the power to regulate commerce among the several states. We said, wait a minute, all the case law, as broadly as it's been construed, and it's been very broadly construed, that's been the source of most of the centralization of federal power over the last 100 years, says the federal government has the power to regulate economic activity that impacts interstate commerce. It doesn't say the federal government has the right to create commerce by forcing people to buy a product they may not otherwise buy. And so we challenged it and said it's not a proper exercise of the commerce power. Little known fact, the Supreme Court said, you're right, 5-4. But then, of course, Justice Roberts joined 4 others in saying, but we're going to call it a tax, even though Congress said it wasn't a tax, and the President said it wasn't a tax. And of course, you folks all know that if Congress had said it was a tax, it wouldn't have passed. They had to bribe Ben Nelson to be the last vote anyway. If they had to go to the voters on a $1 trillion tax, it wouldn't have passed. There's all kinds of issues. But we've got 33% of the state of Colorado is federal land. We're fighting with the feds all the time about our right to royalties and all that sort of thing. So it's a big part of our job, in my opinion, to make sure that the states are treated as they are supposed to be treated under the concept of federalism enshrined in the Constitution.
A novel concept, states' rights.